You signed your contract on July 8th, so you've not been here very long, right?
Right.
How's it been transitioning back home?
I've enjoyed it. It's always nice, like I said, sleeping in your own bed. You go home 5 minutes after the game and you're sleeping in the house that you grew up in. It tends to make the season not feel like it's a season. You're so used to either being in Japan or Korea or California or somewhere far away from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, that it's kind of surreal the first couple nights. You're actually going to play in a game and then you're sleeping in your own home that you grew up in. So I think it makes a comfortable transition. My old man lives up in Mannheim now, and he hasn't gotten to see me play on a regular basis, and I know he enjoys it. Even the first night I got here, he said he wasn't going to come and let me break it in and play a couple games, and I look up here in the 8th inning, and he's standing out there yelling at me and always kind of correcting me and encouraging me. So
maybe not much has changed since high school ball?
Definitely not a lot has changed. So, but I've enjoyed it. It's I'm looking forward to the next couple months here and just get some games, get some at-bats, and hopefully get some wins in here and get into the championship here again. I might be the only one in independent ball that's not gung-ho to get out. I'm just looking for playing. At this point, I just want to play, see if my body can still hold up to playing every day and see if I enjoy it. And, so ultimately that's the goal. I hope this isn't the twilight of my career where I'm finished at the end of this year, but, all things come to an end.
So take it back to high school. You're going to college.
Xavier University, yeah.
And what were you thinking when you were leaving to go to college? What were your aspirations for your career?
I'd gotten drafted by the White Sox out of high school, so when I signed to go to college, that was always in the back of my mind. What am I doing going to college? I could be playing ball right now. I wasn't ready enough to go at age 17 into minor league baseball. I see a lot of those guys that get weeded out the early couple of years because they get a little sidetracked with everything else going on. And, in '96, I was gung-ho and wondering about ball. When I went to college, it was always in the back of my mind, am I good enough to play? And the first year I got called up, I don't know if I ever got relaxed for a game. I was so nervous. A lot of players who grew up loving the game, they tend to get nervous. They don't, a lot of the Latin players come over, I think, have success because they don't know any different. To them, they're just playing a game. They're not enamored by the whole major leagues. And I think I got wrapped up in that my first year. Never felt comfortable, never felt relaxed, and the second time I went out with the A's was a different clubhouse, different environment, and wasn't in a clubhouse with like 10 future Hall of Famers, and I could relax and be myself. So
what was that like being in the locker room with these guys that I'm sure that maybe even you watched as you were growing up?
A lot of them were. When I went up with the Mets, it was John Franco, Al Leiter, Mike Piazza, guys that are household names, and for me it was a little, you're sitting there biting your nails, you don't want to say anything, you don't want to step out of line, and like I said, I never quite felt comfortable, but the Oakland A's was probably, in all the years I've been playing, the best clubhouse that I've been in.
How does having a wife and child change your perspective on how you play the game?
I mean, when I was right out of high school and college, it was, I'd have an 0 for 4, a bad game, and it took it home with me, and I was miserable until the next day if I got hits. And now you go home and you see your family in the stands, you see your little kids, and they don't care if you're 4 for 4 or 0 for 4, you're still their dad, and that gives you something to look forward to. It makes you not stressed out after a game. And
doesn't really seem like you go 0 for 4 too much. I mean, your batting averages were 300 and above 300 at some points in your career, and I think you're at 267 now.
I mean, I always shoot for 300 every year, and what I've learned over the 11 years that I've played now is if you're a 300 hitter, you're going to hit 300 if you have 500 at-bats. But, I think everyone that I've noticed, obviously guys get better, they develop power, but you are what you are. If you're going to hit 300, you're going to be a 300 hitter, and I've always believed in that, so that's kind of always my goal is to hit 300.
Not many slumps in your career? Not many hitting slumps?
I've had a lot, yeah. I'm just fortunate enough that I've had enough at-bats to get out of them. Sometimes managers don't play guys long enough to get out of the slumps that they're in, but I've had some good ones in my day that have stuck with me.
Is this a level of play that you think a lot of people underestimate?
You know what? It was a level of play that was appealing to me. When I signed after I came back from Korea, I signed with the Mets, and then I went to AAA for 4 games, which I've been at 5 and 6 years. They sent me to AA for a couple days, and for me that was difficult being at a level that I was at 8 years ago with kids that are 20, 21, 22. Here you have the young kids, but you also have 33, 34-year-olds. I mean, we're playing against Long Island. They have Preston Wilson, who's got 7, 8 years, made a lot of money in this game, and I was obviously trying to get back into it. He was coming off an injury, but I think the level of play is a lot higher than what I expected it coming in. I didn't think it would be a cakewalk coming in and hit 400 and hit a bunch of home runs, but it's very competitive, and for what it is, it's a good level for guys to stay competitive and see if they can still play the game.
You encounter big names not only here, but when you were over in Japan, and you actually went up against Daisuke. How was How was that? Did you even know who he was the first time you went up against him?
That was the funny part. We played him in a game. We ended up beating him 1-0. I hit a walk-off RBI double in the 9th inning, and we beat him. And I think I was 2 for 3 that day with a walk. Everybody's high-fiving me, and our translator keeps telling me, that's the best pitcher in Japan. And I didn't know any different, you know. And then the second time we went out to play him, I think I was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts.
Was that after you knew who he was?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm like, why did you guys tell me? Just let me think I'm hitting off like a pitcher that's bad. But
tell me a little about your experience in Japan.
Everything's a little different. You know, over here for the years that I came up, everybody just sat back and waited for a home run. You know, it was like kind of the whole home run era. You know, a lot of guys were hitting them and hitting a lot of them. Over there, they play small ball, a lot of bunts, a lot of hit and runs, a lot of steals, stuff that I never grew up doing a lot of. So those were a little bit different for me, and you know, the defense is really big over there.
How do you transition smoothly between the two?
When I first went over, I had a lot of success early over there. And I think the main thing is there's only 12 teams over there. So if they figure out how to get you out, they figure it out quick. You know, because there's a lot of video, a lot of studying hitters and how to get them out and how guys get them out. And I didn't make adjustments. I think the bigger adjustment for me was when I came back after the 2 years. You know, guys throwing 94, you're not used to seeing 94. Guys throwing consistently 91, 92. Everything just seemed a little faster than what I remembered before I had left to go to Japan.
I know you had a lot of injuries we were talking about last year. And you know, besides the fact that it was a hard transition for you to come back, I can only imagine how hard it was to overcome those injuries mentally. Also, was that something that was hard for you to?
It's always overcoming injuries mentally, you know, but I've had enough of them that they tend to run their course. You know, I figure if you stick with it long enough, things tend to get healthy. And you know.
So how do you get yourself out of like maybe a mental slump from?
I'm still trying to figure it out. You know, try to stay as positive as you can. Like I said, for me, my kids have helped a lot. You know, before 5 years ago when I had my oldest, slumps would last for a month, and if I was hot, I was good for a month. Now slumps tend to last a week, you know, and I can kind of forget about it. Put things in perspective. Once you're a parent, you realize that there's worse things out there in the world than going 0 for 4.
So if you were not playing baseball right now, what would be your full-time job, your dream full-time job?
I have zero idea, and I think that's why I'm still playing. I talk to my wife about it all the time, and she's actually going back to get her nursing degree, and you know, she worked over here at Lancaster General for a few years, but we're getting a plan for her together, you know, and I think that's why I still play and still have the motivation to do it, because I can't think of anything that I'd rather do, and I know that time's coming to an end at some time in the next couple of years. So,
what did you major in college?
I was a criminal justice major, and I'd taken some law classes and was kind of tinkering with going to law school, but that's 3 years more of education, and my brother's an attorney now up in Harrisburg, so he keeps reminding me how it's not that easy to go through and pass the bar exam. And
so finish this sentence. 5 years down the road, I'll be
the parent of a 10-year-old and a 8-year-old. That's the only answer I can come up with right now.